everyone, I'm Muddy, and welcome to the Mudshire. I feel like it's way darker in here than usual. I don't know what's going on with that. But jumping into the video, in case you didn't know, this year I challenged myself to play and complete at least one new game a month. As a chronic game DNFer, that did not finish. And a more casual gamer, my goal is mostly to branch out and play beyond just my comfort picks. I'm looking at you, farming games, and actually finish a game that I start. For May's game, I chose Expedition 33. It's a brand new turn-like. It's a brand new turn-based RPG from a small French studio that promised to shake up the genre. I landed on Expedition 33 for this month mostly because everyone seems to be throwing it around that this might be Game of the Year. Most years I don't play a single game that ends up being nominated, so I figured this would be a great pick for the series. I think in the last years I've played Baldur's Gate 3 and Black Myth Wukong, and that's it. That's all. And those were like my games of that year. Like those were the only games I played, and I didn't even finish Black Myth Wukong. But yeah. So getting into my expectations, since I picked this game based on all the buzz that it's been creating, I obviously came in with some expectations. Surprise! I was pretty unsure that I'd like it. If you know me, you know I love a good turn-based RPG. And if the story hits, I'm melting. So what is there for me to be scared of going into this game? My taste in turn-based games is actually a little different. It's a little bit different. I like the tactical, like grid-based stuff, like Fire Emblem or Final Fantasy Tactics, that kind of thing. But the style is the more traditional cinematic, turn-based, story-driven RPG, like classic Final Fantasy, Octopath Traveler, or Bravely Default. I have a pretty long, messy history of just dropping these games, like getting halfway through and just not being interested in playing them anymore. I mean, we've already discussed that I'm a chronic game DNFer, so this shouldn't be too shocking, but I've always wanted to like these games. Like, I wanted to be a person who liked these games, and I've tried to be someone who likes these games. But no matter how well made they are, or how good the story is, or how much people love it, they can never really hold my attention. At most, and I seriously mean at most, I do make it halfway. Like sometimes I get 2 hours and I go, I don't know, I think I hate this. So I think we can see where my hesitation is coming from. On the other hand, there has been overwhelming support for Expedition 33. The last time I saw people this collectively excited, I think, was for Baldur's Gate 3, and that basically became everyone's favorite game. I'm pretty hopeful, we'll say cautiously hopeful, but also I'm bracing myself to be the weird outlier who totally hates the game. With all of my baggage in tow, I booted up Expedition 33, ready to either fall in love with it or fall asleep. Expedition 33 has a pretty unique story. It's set in a world that's undergone a massive calamity, fracturing the continent and leaving humanity confined to like a small island, protected island. And outside their city lies chaos, or the unknown, if you will. Since this fracture, a strange obelisk has risen from the sea, and every year an even stranger creature emerges and paints a number on it, and everyone whose age that matches that number dies. And that number has been steadily going down for the past 67 years. Our goal jumping into the game is to join that year's expedition, where we're tasked with leaving the safety of our city to try and stop the creature who is painting the numbers before it paints more numbers and kills people. Yeah, I think that's the best way to explain the premise. And so from there we set off and start the expedition. Just hearing the premise is, I think, enough to draw a lot of people in. It's a very unique story, but actually jumping into the game is a different thing. There's always people that don't want to play it because it's simply a turn-based game. I mean, people didn't even want to play Baldur's Gate 3 because it was turn-based. It's a different style than this game, but a lot of people didn't want to play it. Since this game is much more traditional, I feel like there's going to be even more people who don't want to check it out. On the other hand, there's also people that hear turn-based and go, say less. I'm getting in there. I'm mostly interested in discussing if this game is a game everyone can enjoy. Like, will people who haven't found success in this genre still support this as their game of the year? Will I like it? You know? Starting off the first couple of hours, I'll say the game does really grab you. You're dropped into a pretty richly built world, and there's almost no hand-holding. It felt to me kind of similar like being dropped into the BioShock world, where you're just walking around this town and things are happening and you're like, what the fuck? What does this mean? I will say from the very beginning, you can feel how like complete the game feels. The world building is very deep, thoughtful, immersive. It really grabs your attention. Something I've been saying recently is that it feels whole. Like the story just feels very complete. There are no loose edges. I think most people who get into the game and start playing like the first 2 hours will probably be really hooked because the story does just it grabs you. It grabs you and it keeps grabbing you. There are no stopping points. There's no down. It's just all like up and up and up and up and up. But hey, that's just the story. Let's talk about the gameplay. Expedition 33 has a very unique combat system. Honestly, this was another thing I was pretty hesitant about going into it. The big draw as well, you're fighting your typical turn-based battle. You'll need to land QTEs, which are quick time events. Probably we all know that. During attacks. And you have to actively dodge and parry incoming hits. So it's not just picking your commands from a menu, you're constantly engaging in the action of the game. I honestly did not like the sound of that. When I hear QTE, I think boring, annoying, gamer, slap. Something to just make you feel like you're engaging with the game when you're really not doing anything. I will say Expedition 33 QTEs feel pretty important, they feel powerful. Each character's attack animation is pretty flashy, and landing the QTEs feels like you're like helping them land their powerful attack. It does add to the satisfaction, but inevitably I did still get tired of it, which I expected. Once you've seen the same attack so many times, you're just over it, and I feel like you're pretty reliant on certain attacks on this game, so you will be seeing the same thing over and over and over again. There is an option to turn the QTs off, but I actually think they're very necessary to keep you engaged in the game. They help you stay focused when you're about to, and if they weren't there, I feel like you would kind of like, you know, start drooling, get bored, and zone out, and then you would just fail miserably because you'd get hit by attacks that you need to be dodging. Without the QTEs, I fear it actually would be pretty easy to just stop paying attention, which you cannot do in this game. This game really does not want you to look away. You have to dodge and parry to win fights. You cannot just tank everything. I'm sure people have figured out builds that allow you to tank everything, but you probably really have to min-max to do that. Like, you are meant to parry and dodge. This was another one of the things I was worried about. I was worried it just like wouldn't be fun, like it'd just be there and something you have to do, but they have absolutely done an amazing job with this system and making it work. They seriously nailed the feedback and the timings, and when it clicks, I do think the game does really click. I didn't expect to be talking about difficulty in this video, but my gamer friends, I fear, have forced my hand. It was really recommended to me that I play on the hardest difficulty, which I did not want to do. But since I was coming off of playing a Souls-like, it was clear to everyone that I should continue suffering. That lasted like an hour. The hardest difficulty definitely gives the game a Souls-esque type of feel. You basically can't afford to get hit by anything at all, and since the combat timing is its own unique rhythm that we haven't seen before, there was a pretty steep learning curve for me. In another life, I'd love to stick with the hard difficulty in this game, but after getting through Kazan, I was pretty exhausted. I switched my game to normal pretty quickly, but that's just about where the difficulty starts and ends. It really is just the dodge parry system where, like, if you're playing on the hardest difficulty, you just get one shot by everything. You have to dodge and parry everything. The normal difficulty does feel very fair. If you mess up, you can usually recover, but there's still room to fail, and you can still challenge yourself. Like, you can go out of your way to fight higher level things, and they'll still one-shot you if you forget to dodge or miss it because you suck. It's cool that you can still have the opportunities to, like, try out having a more difficult time when you don't want the whole game to feel like that. And it just goes down from there, right? You've got easy, which offers room for lots of mistakes and would definitely be for the people who just want to do the story, which is totally cool. I will say though, I get the recommendation to play on the hardest difficulty if you're someone who likes to sit with your games and really like sink into the systems and feel rewarded overcoming challenges. Hard might be for you. The bosses are stunning. They're stunning, and the soundtracks that go along with them are probably even better. Like, sometimes it feels like the soundtracks were made before the game. Like, that was the most important part of the game. But it's the kind of game where failing a few times could actually make the experience better because you'll have time to form memories of the super epic, beautiful boss fight you just overcame. But at the same time, I was really struggling to grasp the timings for dodging and parrying when I started out. Playing on hard is going to be way more frustrating for me and for my experience than what I wanted out of the game. So I think I'm going to recommend starting the game on normal and moving yourself up if you want that more difficult experience once you've gotten a foothold on the mechanics. But obviously, I'm not saying this to the people who just want to enjoy the story, or people who need a break like me, or people who don't have time because they're prepping to play Night Rain in a couple of days and they need to get this game done ASAP. You know what you want and what you can handle, so act like it. Pick what suits your style of play. Overwhelmingly though, I think the highlight of the game is by far the story and the characters. They are really not afraid to pull a fast one on you, and I don't think I've ever cried this much while playing a game. I don't know if I've really ever cried at all playing a video game, and in this game I was sobbing. Like, there were multiple different points in the story where it was just a river of tears. I remember when I beat the game, I went downstairs to my roommates like they were like, what the fuck is wrong with you? What's happening? What's going on? And I was just like, I couldn't even explain what was going on. I was so sad, but I needed to be around people, but it was traumatizing. This game is intense. I think overall, if you're not into this style of combat, like I am not, and honestly, it never even grew on me while I was playing. The parrying system did help, but I'm still like, would get tired of playing. You're definitely going to experience a bit of fatigue if you're like me, but progressing the story and learning about the world really pushes you forward in this one. Even when the gameplay dragged a bit, it never really mattered because I just needed to know what was going to happen next. And the story is pretty short, so you don't even have to play the game for that long if you want to experience the very super and awesome story. But I feel like by the end, you're going to be wanting to do all the extra side content to learn more about the world. Another thing which I touched on a little bit is that I'm sure you already heard this. The soundtrack for this game is phenomenal. It almost feels like the game exists just to be a vessel for bangers. If you're not the kind of person who gets into game OSTs, this one is going to end you. Like, you are going to listen to these songs. I'm not someone who gets into game OSTs, but there are too many songs at the same level as this and this. But even after all this amazing stuff, the game is not without qualms, and so I must speak of its sins. They're mostly very small things, nothing deal breaking, but they're what kept Expedition 33 from being a perfect game in my eyes. At least for me, and honestly, I think I'm being pretty dramatic. Like, I'm just a hater at heart. A nitpicker, if you will. And I'm probably not even nitpicking the right stuff, since I have a pretty limited collection of completed games under my belt. But anyways, moving forward, this first one made me really mad. This was like egregious to me, actually. As we know, this is a turn-based game where tactics are essential. They're essential. Expedition 33 does not have turn counters for its buffs. Like, unless I'm counting out turns in my head, I have no idea how long my buffs are going to be up. And that pisses me off. That pisses me off. Like, most things last for 3 turns, and I could count that because I know how to count to at least 3. But like, why? Why do I have to do that? Why? Just put a little number up. Just put up a little number. One of the characters has this ability that procs damage like every turn, and while they do offer a beautiful animation circling around their feet signaling that the ability is up, I'd like to know how long I have until it is gone. I don't know why this pisses me off so much, because technically it's not necessary, and probably my gameplay wouldn't be affected at all if they did include a number, but it does piss me off. It makes me mad. So I had to talk about it. Another thing that bothered me is the movement can be pretty clunky. I didn't realize just how clunky it was until I tried to do this stupid fuck ass mini game. This volleyball mini game, and I didn't have to do it. But I really wanted the swimsuit outfits, and it took me forever. Once I realized how hard it was to control characters' movement from that mini game, I couldn't get it out of my head. I couldn't stop thinking about it for the rest of the game. I also would just get like stuck on things a lot, on like things, little things protruding out of the ground that it seems like your character should just be able to like walk over, and you'd have to like sit there and jump and be like, why am I stuck? I don't know. That just annoyed me. Oh my god. This is so stupid. It's not even a hot bathing. I knew it wasn't gonna be a hot bathing suit. I'm really not that big of a deal. Third qualm. There's a lot of side content. Usually you'd think, what? I love side content. Why is that a qualm? And I go, yeah, what the heck? Why is that a qualm? In a game where the main story always feels like life or death, it's really hard to justify detouring to any optional zones. The story is serious. You need to get things done. You need to get going. We're on a time crunch. I would have just liked if there were more quests attached to these side areas. Even just some light quest content, like even a fetch quest, honestly. Anything would have made me happy. I just really wanted a reason to slow down and explore, because the plot is just pulling you forward so hard. I felt guilty doing anything else. I was in too deep. And I'm really such an explorer girl. I love exploring, but I could not pull myself out of the seriousness of my mission. For my final qualm, it's actually more of a suggestion. I would have exploded if the characters had more banter. I think sometimes walking around, it would feel pretty lonely, and I just was reminiscing about Baldur's Gate and how the characters talk to each other when you're walking around. I was just like, boy, I really would have loved that, and it would have worked so well here. The characters are so funny. I think that is it. I think that's all my qualms. I keep trying to compare Expedition 33 to something to put it on, you know, my own personal enjoyment scale. And honestly, the only thing that comes to mind for me is Baldur's Gate 3, which is why I've brought it up multiple times. Not because they're really similar, but because they were both underdogs. They just came out of nowhere and blew everyone away and had spectacular stories. We get tons of games that look great, that sound great, that have amazing trailers, and then they come out and they're just meh, or they're shit, or they're utter dog shit that you would never touch. There's just so much garbage being produced. It can be hard to find good games, let alone excellent ones, and this is certainly an excellent one. If BG3 is like a phenomenal TV show, episodic, bingeable, full of side plots and rabbit holes to dive into, then Expedition 33 is like a perfectly crafted movie. It's shorter, more focused, but every piece is very intentional and just enjoyable. So, that comes to our question, do I think this is going to be a game of the year? Yeah, probably. Expedition 33 shakes up its genre pretty hard in such a delightful way. It's hard to imagine anything else this year topping it. Now, there is a lot of year left. Something more amazing could come out. It's true. Currently, though, there is nothing that tops this on my radar. Not that this game was on my radar either, though, so I don't know how much my opinion matters here. I really think this game is going to change the standard of what people expect from turn-based RPGs, though. I feel like this is going to be a Slay the Slayer moment. Like, they did something so right that everyone wants to be them, and now there's 1,000 copies of roguelike deck builders on Steam. I really suspect there's going to be more and more turn-based RPGs that let you dodge and parry attacks, but this year, there's a lot of big names coming out with games, so I don't know. This really does feel like a pretty big year for gaming. I don't think I've ever been this excited for upcoming releases. Not in a long time, at least. Even all the big cozy name, like big name cozy games are releasing this year, which is crazy. Like everything is dropping this year. It's hard to confidently say this is going to win Game of the Year, but I think it has a pretty huge chance. Like an absolutely massive fat chance. Anyway, as far as my gaming challenge goes so far this year, I think this is taking first place, like by a long shot. Every other game I've played this year, I felt like I really had to buckle down and force myself to get through. Even if I enjoyed it, I just didn't enjoy them that much, or I'd realize why they were good games, but I still wasn't having fun. And you know, this challenge is so that I will actually finish a game, so I was forcing myself to finish them. But they were bad games. It's just my character. But Expedition 33, I think, managed to keep me in a chokehold. I'm still listening to the OST and making my roommate listen to it. So we're just having jazz breakfast every day, listening to most of the soundtrack, which is fun. But honestly, I feel like I didn't even talk about half of the things I loved in this game, like SKA. I didn't even mention my main man until right now, and I love him, and he's my identity now. But I'm telling you about him now. So yeah, and I'm also going to tell you that's how you'll feel about a lot of the characters in Expedition 33 if you give it a chance. Honestly, what else can I shove in right here of why I like this game? I don't know. I feel like I can't even explain why I like this game. I really do think it was the story just phenomenal. I think I've already said that, but it's just they did it so good. They did everything so good. I think there's a lot of moments where you realize, like, oh yeah, this is an indie studio. I'm not sure why they made this choice, or I feel like this could have been expanded on. But when you step back and go, this was an incredibly small team, you realize, holy shit, this is a stupid amazing game. Maybe if they had a bigger team, the next game would be like utterly perfect. But anyway, thanks for spending my time in Expedition 33 with me. If you got thoughts, questions, or your own opinion to share, drop them in the comments. I stream all my playthroughs on Twitch, so don't forget to check me out there. It'll be in the thing description. So, and if you're into this series, like and subscribe because it helps me. This month I will be playing Elden Ring's new game, Night Rain, and I hope to see you guys there.